Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. Host USA remain atop the medal standings at the World Athletics Championships in Eugene, Oregon. After 7 days of competition, the USA have 22 medals, 7 gold, 6 silver and 9 bronze. Ethiopia come next with 8 medals, 3 gold, 4 silver and 1 bronze. While Jamaica, they are third with 2 gold, 3 silver and 1 bronze. Jamaica's 2 latest medals, a gold and a silver, came in the women's 200 meters. Shericka Jackson sped to gold in a championship record time of 21.45 seconds. Shelly and Fraser-Pryce took silver in a season's best 21.81 seconds. Great Britain's Dina Asher-Smith took bronze in 22.09. Well, speaking after her first individual medal at a major global championship, Jackson chided a reporter who asked her about Flojo's world record.
There's one person in history who's run faster than you, and there's some questions about that time. I'm wondering what do you make of the current world record?
Come again?
There's one person in history who's run faster than you tonight. I'm wondering what you make of the current world record. Do you believe in that time?
What kind of question is that supposed to be?
Well, there's some questions about Flojo.
Isn't it the world record?
It is the world record, yeah.
So why do you think I need to question the world record?
There are some questions
Well,
about...
that's not me.
Okay.
That question is so rude of you to ask.
Okay, thank you.
Well, joining us to talk about Jackson's performance is our resident track and field expert, the one and only Leighton Levy. Welcome, Leighton.
Hi, Maria. How are you doing?
I'm happy. I'm doing well. Shericka finally delivering on the big stage. That must make you very happy. You did predict that on the SportsMax Zone.
Yeah, we did. Because, look, one of the things that Shericka Jackson has always believed is that she's a sprinter. Stephen Francis converted her into a quarter miler. But now that she's back to the disciplines that she truly enjoys, you see her doing well. 10:73 in the 100 meters, a personal best. And, of course, now 21:45, which is the second fastest time ever. And, of course, a new national record, replacing the 21:53 from Leighton Thompson here last year. I mean, Shericka Jackson's in her element right now. And I think, based on what we saw last night, she could go faster because I think there are areas of that race where she can improve upon. So right now, it's probably the performance of the meet. I mean, notwithstanding the 19.31 that we saw from the American last night, the reality is that Shericka Jackson is now at the forefront of women's 200-meter sprinting.
Yes, definitely at, the peak of her performances. You mentioned just now her coach, Stephen Francis, of course, and I also think it's fitting that we mention Paul because he has also worked very closely with Shericka. Talk to us about the work that would have gone into this young lady that's finally, achieved her gold medal.
Well, look, we saw the progress that was made last year when she ran 10:76 and 21:81. Significant improvements on her previous times because the year before that, I think she was an 11-100-meter runner. But, based on what we've been hearing in the last couple of seasons, she's been doing some spectacular things in training. Numbers which indicated that she had the potential to go a lot faster. So a lot of work apparently went into running 300s and getting her a lot stronger. I remember seeing her early this season at one of the Velocity Fest meets early in the season. I think it was in May. And her legs were massive, suggesting that a lot of leg work went into getting that power generating from her legs. And, of course, her general conditioning looked really fantastic. So now that she's tapered down, the times really aren't surprising because the times that I heard she was running for 300s were close to the times that the guys were running in the 300s. Her speed endurance is significantly improved. Her strength and obviously her sprint mechanics have improved over the past 2 seasons. So right now the sky's the limit for a 28-year-old athlete who probably has maybe 3 or 4 fantastic years left ahead of her with the Olympics coming up in 2024 and, of course, the World Championships in Budapest next year and another World Championships in 2025. You can probably expect Shericka Jackson to go a lot faster over those next 3 years, meet the championships and add to the gold medal tally that she began collecting last night.
Yeah, and Sharika, of course, making victory look extremely easy. I want your comment, though, Leighton, on Sharika's response to that reporter and, of course, the Flojo discussion, because the record definitely appears to be in danger.
Look, I thought her response was appropriate under the circumstances. Look, the world record, as much as there are many of us who believe that those world records are not necessarily legitimate, the fact remains that they are the world records. And so to pose that question to her in that forum, I thought was inappropriate as a journalist. Maybe another time, another place. But she just ran the fastest time that's been run in since 1988. And, a record a new championship record, breaking the one that Daphne Skipper set. Funny enough, beating Leighton Thompson back in 2015. So, in my mind, they're the right places to ask people questions of that nature, and they're wrong places. I thought last night's question was inappropriate given the circumstance and given the place.
Yeah, Leighton, spare a thought for Elaine Thompson-Hero, who was unplaced in the final last night. Of course, a year ago, the script was flipped and she was the darling of Jamaica's track and field. Not much attention paid to her now because of her below par performances. But Elaine Thompson-Hero is still Elaine Thompson-Hero. Any comments on her below par efforts so far in Oregon?
Well, one thing that has become clear, Lance, is that her preparation this season was not what was expected, I think. I mean, when you look at the fact that her acceleration, her drive, everything was different this year. Some of it is down to injury concerns that she had early in the season. Some of it, I think, is down to the change of programs. But what was clear in the 200-meter pass, because remember yesterday I did say that even though it was from an insular perspective, I thought she had the potential to come back and run maybe 21.8 or somewhere in that region that I think would put her on the podium. Clearly, she didn't have the ability to repeat, notwithstanding the day rest that she had in between. Because when she came off the curve, she had nothing left. It was very, very evident. And when you saw her during the introductions, she didn't look particularly confident. So, look, the thing about it is that people need to understand that these athletes are not machines. Huh? She ran 21.53 last year, and of course 10.61, 10.54. The reality is that, as I mentioned earlier this season when I was asked on the zone about, whether or not you could challenge a world record. Once the season ends, and you're literally starting from scratch. So this season was perhaps a bad one for her, and it's beginning to sound like a trend now where she just doesn't do that well at World Championships, because other than the 21.66 that she ran in 2015 in Helsinki, this is the first year that she's actually won another medal at the World Championship. I know she was going for gold, but clearly she wasn't ready this year. But the thing is, I think she'll bounce back. I mean, the reality is that she's 30 years old. She still has good years left ahead of her. And I think once the coaching program beds in the way I think they would expect, she will be better come next year. And, people need to remember that these athletes are not machines, and they're not going to be progressing from one point where they left off at the end of one season into the next season. That's not how it works. So, kudos to her. She gave it her best shot. She got to the final, which means that she's one of the top 9 athletes in the world. We should respect that and remember that the accomplishments from last year at the Olympics have not disappeared because of the disappointing performances this year. They're still there in the history books. Olympic champion, the first and only woman to double-double at the Olympics. 10.61, a new Olympic record, and of course 21.53, which was up until last night, the second fastest time ever run over the distance by a woman, and also the national record. Those things don't go away just because she performed badly on the night last night.
Yes, Leighton, don't go anywhere. We're going to head to a break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking World Championships.